So communication is Natalie Kalinsky and our own Hector Sabito. Natalie Kalinsky joined the Waco Foundation in 2015 as the Director of Communications and Donor Services. She graduated from Baylor University with a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism and Public Relations and brings more than 10 years of marketing experience to her position at the Waco Foundation. And the co-chair for this communication working group is our own colleague Hector Sabito, who represents Waco City Council District 2. He's currently the General Sales Manager of Prophecy Media Group, a cluster of radio stations in Central Texas, and he's worked in communications and advertising for more than 15 years and has an extensive knowledge of print, online, cable, radio, and direct mail communications and advertising, making him nicely suited to serve in this role. Thank you both for volunteering to lead this effort. I'll turn this over to you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have to start off my presentation by saying now I know what staff feels like every time they come before Council. And so now I have more respect for our city staff, even more so now. But I will introduce Natalie, who in here in a little bit, who has been just a pure joy to work with. I mean, she is by far the smartest and brightest person of the pair here, and so I so appreciate her her work experience and just how flexible and how easy she's been to work with. And so I'll introduce her in a little bit, but I just want to go on to just talk about some few things because I know we're on time limit on goals that we have as our strategic communication working group. There are two main goals, and if not, we can go to the next slide. There are two goals that we have for our task force. Number one is simply distribute fact-based information in both English and Spanish to community members via identified channels, and we'll talk about those identified channels here in a little bit. And then number two is also develop method for communication between key partner entities. One of the things that we are focusing hard on as a task force is to make sure that every governmental entity and every entity that operate, or as many operating entities within the McLennan County, are up to speed not only on the health portion of COVID-19, but also the business relief recovery, and also the personal social services that I'm sure a presentation is going to be made on later on. And so these are just some of the things that as a committee we're focusing on. Next slide. Some of our key partnerships, so you know, is of course the City of Waco, which our Public Information Office have been very generous and very grateful to work with. City managers from other communities, so that would include city managers and possibly even mayors from the City of Hewitt and Lorena and Woodway and Robinson, etc. Our Public Health District, Family Health Center, Emergency Operations, of course, our Business and Individual Financial Recovery Liaison. In fact, Councilmember Holmes made a presentation to our group yesterday. Of course, all of the higher ed, our three institutions of higher ed, MCC, Baylor, and TSTC have all joined in to work with us as well. I would say the larger ISDs in our community, Waco ISD, Midway ISD, and La Vega. And of course, once again, the chambers, all three key chambers, the Greater Waco Chamber, the Syntex African American Chamber, and the Syntex Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. In not the next slide, but the slide after that, you'll see some of our partners that have partnered with us. And of course, we can't forget we also have representation from the county level because all of us are in McLennan County. And so with that, I will turn it over to my wonderful co-chair, Natalie, who has, once again, I have enjoyed thoroughly working with her. And she will go over some key messages and other things, but medium channels that we will get our message out. So Natalie, I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Hector. I appreciate it. One of the things that we know that there's, go to the next slide, please. One of the things we know is there's so much communication taking place right now, which is a wonderful thing, but we really felt like this group needed to pare down the things and the messages that we're trying to get across. So we identified 5 different areas that we are going to focus our messaging on, which you can see here, of course, ordinances, and right now the big one is the shelter in place, but we know that those will change, and there may be new ones. And so we will use our group to make sure we are being very clear about what those are in a way that everyone can relate to. Relief efforts for individuals, businesses, and nonprofits. So very much in line with what the group you just heard from is doing, and we're getting a lot of our information and messaging from them. The health response and education and social services, which you'll, of course, hear from the two other working groups. Again, working with them to make sure that we are communicating their messages out to the public. And then community stabilization, which just kind of encompasses the other things that we're all really thinking about and are concerned about. So those are the 5 areas that we're really maintaining our heavy focus. You'll go to the next slide, please. The components of our working group that we've just identified and outlined here. So Hector mentioned our key partners and reviewed who those are. And we have an email distribution list. So anything that our key partners feel is necessary to share, they want to share amongst that large group, we've made that available and continue to receive email communication from them. We have right now twice a week meetings, virtual meetings with all of the key partners. We have a separate list that is a distribution list. So anytime we get information from the key partners, we have even a more comprehensive list of people we feel like should get those messages. That includes media, some of our local bloggers, newsletters, things like that. Of course, message refinement and design. So taking in all of this information and our how do we get that into a message that our community can embrace. So really refining those and designing them in a way that they're easily shareable and understandable. And then we are launching a community newsletter within the next 24 hours that is really designed to hit those 4 to 5 key messages that we talked about a few minutes ago. And then last, it's not on here because it's new, but Sarah talked a little bit about this, is a community calendar that we're working on that will have information about WebExes and other meetings that folks can attend to get information about what they need, but whether it be individual, businesses, nonprofits, etc. So we're working to get that up and going. Next slide, please. The working group roles, so Hector and I really took some time to determine what we as co-chairs would be working on and then what the other partners in our group will be doing. So we identified our key partner liaisons early on. We're adding to those every day and sometimes updating them. But we have a pretty comprehensive list that Hector talked about earlier. We host the meetings twice a week right now amongst the key partners. We take those messages that we receive in those calls, so we have a dedicated spot on our agenda to talk about information needs that our key partners have identified. We take those messages, we develop them, and then we push them out through our distribution list. Next slide. Our key partners, really what we ask of them is to attend all of our meetings. I know that twice a week is a lot right now, especially with everything else everyone has going on. But we really feel like that is the most important time for us to learn about what the community is needing in terms of information. And then we work as a group to kind of develop, refine, and talk about distribution of those messages. Next slide. And then our public information distribution outlets, of course, they push the information that we send to them. So all of our key partners are included on that list, but again, it also includes media, bloggers, some other websites, and things like that. So we're really trying to reach a critical mass with the information, with very short, succinct messaging that our key partners have helped us develop. And the last slide. The way that works is, again, our key partners with Hector and I kind of helping to coordinate, develop the messages, and then we just push them out through identified outlets that are changing and being added to every day. So that kind of wraps up the work that's taking place right now.
That's a great report, and lots of great work being done there. Dylan, or do you have anything to add here, or Hector, do you have anything to add before y'all wrap?
I just wanted to say to end this, you know, I do appreciate my fellow council members that have been so generous and just being on these calls at different times when we've asked for information. And so please, if there's anything that you feel that we need to include, or if you think that we're missing something, please feel free we're open for recommendations and suggestions. If you have dates that are important that you think need to be added to the community calendar, please feel free to send them my way. We want to make this as much informative as possible. And so with that, I'll just hand it over for questions.